Hey class, I'm coming to you from our classroom where we just finished doing a bit of a lecture regarding the introduction, the transitions, the body, and now I'm going to move you on to the conclusion. So the conclusion of this speech in regards to other speeches that you'll be doing in this class are very, very similar. The conclusion is just that. Its job is to conclude. In contrast, again, to an English class, I don't need you to go off on the future of this topic and some philosophical thought on where we're going. Instead, I need you to conclude. And there's nothing worse, I think, that we can all agree, that when somebody says, in conclusion, and then they start talking for another 20 minutes, is one of the worst things that could happen in this speech. So once we indicate that there is a conclusion, let's end this speech. It should only be about 20 seconds worth of your speech. There are a couple key things that you need to remember about the conclusion and some things that I'm going to have you add. So the first thing that I would like you to add in your conclusion is a signpost. So again, we're going to add one of the signposts that we've done. And a signpost for a speech can be something like in conclusion, but it's a little cliche. So in turn, what are some other ways that we could say that we're wrapping this speech up? Well, we could say something like, to close my speech today, or to close this presentation of getting to know me better, or to summarize my ideas, drawing to a close. Now, if in conclusion is the only thing that you can think of and to come out of your mouth for this first speech, go for it. But we'll start to work on some different signposts that allow you to let the audience know that you're finishing, but in a bit more of a creative way. So first you'll need that signpost, and then you are going to simply repeat what we spoke about. Meaning, you're going to repeat the thesis statement. So, we will remind our audience what the speech was about and how we did that. And then the last thing that you are going to do is you will draw back to the attention getter. In public speaking, we like everything to come full circle, tie it up in a bow, and understand how what we learned at the top about you is now a bit more clear when it comes to the end of our speech. How did that attention-getting device now become clear through all that information? And what now do we know about where you want to go and what you want to do? Now the key here is that no new information should be added ever to a conclusion. So we don't want any new main points or new concepts or a new central idea that we haven't heard of before. Instead, this is simply an opportunity to go back and refer to that idea at the end, but in a newly developed way. So if I started my speech with my story about me on the first day of class and wanting to be very organized, I could say something like, to conclude, today I told you a little bit about my family, my job, and that fun thing I did on my summer vacation. I'd like to leave you with the idea that although I am scheduled and I am organized, you have seen that my family, my job, and my trip allow me opportunities to be creative, to be present, and to not always have to live by the clock. Something like that. Or if I talk to you about thrill-seeking at the beginning, we could, at the end, go back and say something like, so now you can see, after listening to my speech, that thrill-seeking doesn't have to be simply jumping out of a plane, or bungee jumping, or even base jumping. But instead, it can be simply something as easy as taking a step out of your comfort zone, like I do every day in my job, and like I did this summer on my vacation. So those are ways that you can work back in this conclusion. So hopefully that makes sense in regards to the structure of this speech. But where I really want to focus now and move our attention is to understand that public speaking is twofold. The first part of it is the structure and the organization, which we've gone over. But on the other hand, we have something very specific, and that something is delivery. Because in contrast to an English class, we don't just turn in our paper and walk away. We now have this perfect, written, amazing work, but we have to take the next step and bring that work to life. And our delivery is simply as, if not more important, than the content. People will always believe what they see rather than what they hear. For example, I'm having a great day. The content says I'm having a great day. If I was to read it in a text or even over the computer, I would think, oh, she's having a great day. But my face, my eyes, my voice, my posture has all let you know that I am not, in fact, having a great day. And this is sarcasm. And thus, a different idea and meaning has been communicated to my audience. An individual who stands and does not look at the audience and has no facial expression and has no hand gestures and has no tone of voice doesn't communicate the meaning behind the words. And it's really important to get both of those things linked up. Additionally, when you're excited about talking about something, we should see that in your face. If you're talking about your summer vacation and it was fun, let's see that excitement and the fun of it all. When we say it like this, because we think we need to be serious, well, it doesn't come to life, and my audience is now not excited about it, and they don't understand why you've even chosen to speak about it, because it wasn't very exciting. So remember that these two things need to match up. That being said, how do we make this happen? Well, over the course of the semester, we will talk about numerous different ways that we can build your delivery, that we can help to cultivate that natural personality that you already have right here in front of an audience. But a great way to start is by having an excellent speaker's outline. Now, do not let the word outline get you confused right now, because we'll go into that. But for the purpose of this speech, a speaker's outline is key words and phrases that help you to remember what you're speaking about. In this class, we speak extemporaneously, which means being fully prepared, but delivering from a brief set of notes. This is not public reading class, otherwise it would be called that. It's called public speaking. I already know that you can read. We want to see how you can speak. When an individual memorizes, when they speak impromptu or off the cuff, or when they read, it is not nearly as engaging or natural for the audience or the speaker if they aren't seasoned to do so. And thus we speak extemporaneously, which is a mix of maybe a little bit of reading if I want to read a special quote, or perchance if I have a statistic that needs to be referred to exactly how it was written, then I would read that, or somebody else's words. Or if I wrote something that I love so much, just one sentence that I have to read, okay, then read that one sentence because you love the way you wrote it. Or you can memorize that one sentence and deliver it exactly how you intended. But for an entire speech to be memorized, an entire speech to be read, you lose connection with the audience. It becomes incredibly robotic, and it doesn't have that natural flow that we would like to get to. So we will speak extemporaneously. Now, what this means and how this is helped through your speaker's outline is, again, they're just keywords and phrases. If you have everything up with you in front of the class that you intend to say, you will, in fact, read that speech. And it will not be nearly as easy for you to deliver in that extemporaneous form with that natural delivery style. Additionally, when we read the speech, not only does it become very monotone, but it also encourages us as an audience to not make eye contact with you. Because if I'm sitting there the whole time looking down, then my audience doesn't feel the need to look back at me if I'm not looking at them, just by norms and standards. So that is one thing that we also need to note, is our speaker's notes, or in regards to our speaker's notes. So what I encourage each of you to do is simply write out key ideas and terms on a piece of paper and bring it out with you. Put something like, name, and then be like 18 SMC COMM major. So then I know that I would put together, I'd simply glance at my paper and I could say something like, I'm 18 years old, I go to Santa Monica College, and I'm a communication studies major. And now I've talked to you like we're having an everyday conversation, but I never have to worry that my ideas will get lost or that I won't remember what I'm saying. They're there. They're just not written out in full form. So it allows that opportunity for exploration or to say it in my own way. Also, when you practice your speech, I encourage you to always practice 5 times out loud. What does that mean? That means that I want you to stand up in front of nobody or everybody or one other person, and I want you to say your speech out loud, practicing only with your speaker's outline. When we practice with our full written out work, it has us memorize, and it also makes it so we want to get it perfect, like it should be said the exact way it was written. That is not the case. In your 5 times of saying your speech out loud, maybe some things will get said the same way, and maybe some things will be said differently. Ideally, you would say it differently every time. Just like if you're telling a story or a joke, it would probably be different every single time. So I encourage you to practice out loud and practice only with your speaker's notes. And keep going. You know what you want to say. You wrote this. This speech is about you. So if you get all tongue-tied or you don't remember what you're going to say or exactly how it was supposed to be, that's okay. You already know what you're supposed to say. Say it differently. And when you practice enough with that speaker's outline, it gets you into that mode of being able to speak and think off the cuff without having everything in front of you. So start that practice now. You will be required when you go up to show me your speaker's outline, and it should not have everything written out in front of you. Now, let's move along to some other elements of delivery that are going to be imperative for you to understand. For this speech, you will be using the podium. The podium's purpose is for you to set things on. The podium's purpose is not for you to lean on, because non-verbally, when I lean on a podium, what does this communicate? That I'm lazy, that I don't really care. But we know, culturally, in the United States, that for somebody to communicate an idea of confidence, that we have our shoulders back and our heads up. The podium is for you to put a piece of paper on. I'd encourage you to not put your hands on the podium because it will really get you holding on and forgetting to use them throughout your speech. We don't want to put them here, and we don't want to put them behind our back, and we don't want to put them here either. But if you'd like to put them on the podium to start and then to begin and talk, or if you'd like to keep them clasped, or if you'd like to put them right here. Never put your hands up at the top. It makes it really easy to lean on the podium. And if you death grip, but again, it's very hard to get out of the death grip. So I encourage you to simply lay them here or put them in your hands or however it maybe feels most comfortable to you. These are things that we can work on, but try something at least for this speech. That being said, that goes with our hands. Your hands, if you have use of them, are a natural extension of your body and of what you are saying. So for me to say something like, I'm so excited, doesn't make a lot of sense because you're like, why is she not moving her hands? We need that whole body to show the excitement. So we can utilize our hands as a natural extension. But if you're having a difficult time using your hands, you can put in things like enumerating, right? Well, first I'm going to talk about, second I'm going to talk about, third I'm going to talk about, and then go back to your placement. So let's begin first by talking about, and that will be a natural way to do it. Or you can indicate maybe the size of something. It was a large ball. He was a tall man. But at least your hands are getting out there and using. Then the final thing is that you can do it to make an emphasis. And we can say something like, that is amazing. This is incredible. Oh my So we can indicate a point if you would like as well. The other thing, like I said, is for our movement. In this speech, we will stay grounded behind the podium, but that also means that my legs are going to be doing something. If you can see here, it's not just about this. This can be a distraction as well. It can ruin our posture, but we want to make sure that we are stable and we are grounded. That doesn't mean crossing our legs, because again, this presents some more of a casual environment, but let's keep our legs up and keep our body poised and positioned. Eye contact is going to be incredibly important to your success as a speaker and finding that engagement with your audience. When you are looking at the black wall or when you are looking at the ceiling, it is obvious. So I encourage you to look and scroll your audience as you speak. If this isn't something that you're used to and isn't something that you're used to doing on a regular basis, you can take one sentence per person and say something like, so I'll tell you a little bit about my family, and then the next one, and I'm going to get to know you because of my job, and I'm going to get to know you because of what I like to do on weekends. And we can move about like so. But the scrolling process is going to be incredibly important as it opens up a line of communication. When I make eye contact with somebody, it has them make eye contact back with me. Otherwise, these cultural rules, again, remind us of this rudeness. But additionally, what it allows for us to do is to create a sense of believability and credibility with our audience. Because when you look somebody in the eye and you tell them something, it typically means that you're telling the truth. And that kind of connection is important. So we have eye contact, we have our gestures, we have our posture. Don't forget your facial expression. A deer in headlights does not communicate anything. And what I mean by that is somebody who looks like this. Just because you are in a professional environment doesn't mean that you can't have fun. So let your face really indicate what you are speaking about. If you are excited or happy, or you're going to be doing an exciting or happy portion, and you feel like naturally you're not going to smile because you're nervous or anxious, write down on your paper, write happy, or write a funny joke to make you laugh, or something that makes you happy. I could even put down like my dog's name so that every time I look down I was like, ah, and I don't have to say it, but at least it'll give me that natural smile that I can communicate my idea a little bit more effectively to my audience. And that's a little trick for you to get out your facial expression. The last thing that I want to speak about is your use of language. The language in this class is going to be something that is what you'll probably work on the most. And in regards to language, I have a lot of different words that we will be avoiding from here on out in the classroom. You are probably very aware that the word people say most that is problematic is the word or And when we say the word or it communicates something because those words don't have an actual meaning. They're simply filler words, and they communicate that the person either one, doesn't know what they're talking about, or two, is thinking about what they're talking about. Now, to think about what you're talking about is fine, but we can do that very easily in a quick moment of silence without indicating to the audience that we're lost or that we don't know what we're talking about, because the speech is about you and you know what you're talking about. We want to try to get rid of those ums and uhs. I encourage you to practice with somebody. And every time you say or any of the other words I'm about to write, you start back at the beginning. This is an exercise that is surefire to work if you want to get rid of these words. Why? Because by the third time you have to start over at the beginning of your speech, you will be so frustrated that you will do this crazy thing called thinking before you speak. And if that means that you have to slow down in order to think about your ideas before you communicate them, that is fine. And that's what most people do, and that's how communication should be. The pauses that you're hearing are not nearly as long as you think they are. So take your time to do that. In the meantime, let me tell you a couple other words that we are not going to say in this class, or that we're going to try to avoid when we can. Or we want to avoid the word like if it's not a simile. Like, hey, like, oh, like, wow. We want to avoid like. We want to avoid so and when it's used as a comma. So and and are fine when it has a purpose, but I have seen entire speeches that are only one sentence long because of their so's or ands. So watch using them as a comma or a period. We always also want to watch the word you know, because I don't know. So you need words to describe that. Things like etc. or stuff, those words don't communicate what you are speaking about. The same idea goes for and so forth. No, no, no. Finish the idea or tell us what the etc. or stuff and the fourth actually means and use your words instead. And then some articulation words. The word gonna. So for example, today I'm gonna tell you about my job. No, today I am going to tell you about my job. And all of a sudden I just became the most educated person from taking it from gonna to going to. The other word that you're also going to say is wanna. I want to tell you. No, you don't. You want to. You're going to. And the last word that we are going to avoid is going to be the word guys. Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys. It's slang and it's problematic, and we have more individuals in this room that are made up than simply this use of the term guys. And it's a rough one to get away from, but we will work on this throughout the course of this semester as well. For the purpose of Thursday, I will be selectively stopping you throughout your speech. If something's going on with your formatting or if something's going on in your delivery, it's not a big deal. You will not be marked off for it. All I ask is that you correct it the next time it comes up. It's a real low-stakes game. I will encourage you the entire time, and it is fine. But what I ask is that you're willing to work on these things. Let's say you're tapping your foot and it's becoming a distraction. I'll give you a couple tools to get rid of that, and you simply go along with it and practice a little bit while you're giving your speech to try to get rid of that tap. If we can start to put it into play now, we can help hopefully eliminate these issues before the big speeches come about. So I encourage you to write that speaker's outline. Practice 5 times out loud with only that speaker's outline. And try to speak to us like we're having an everyday conversation. Make it new. Don't get too attached to the words. Speak from your heart, but make it feverishly prepared. If you have any questions, you can always email me. I hope you had a great first day of class, and I'll see you on Thursday.